Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're here and we're talking about Supergirl. Yeah, I know a lot of people are probably gonna be like, I'm surprised you watched that. Well, I watched it so that way a lot of you guys don't have to. And if anyone values my opinion or cares about it, this will contain spoilers. So I'm warning you this now if you don't want to be spoiled. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to be honest on this, guys, going into before I watched this movie. So before I did watch the movie, I was hearing a lot of things. I was, listening to different ones about their opinions of it and all this other kind of stuff. And a lot of people, from what I've seen, even going into the box office scores and everything, this made lower than I would say Blue Beetle and what was the last one that they did? Suicide Squad, unfortunately, Birds of Prey, and Black Adam. So it was worse. And then the stuff that Millie Alcock was saying about, being a icon for the gay community, I was like, really? And then also James Gunn trying to put his 2 cents in, and then trying to defend himself and the writers and the actors and all that, saying that, it was mainly because of males that the movie hasn't done well. When, again, 80 to 90% of your audience that went to go see this film were men around my age group. And supposedly this was made for young female viewers or younger women, which I'll get into in a minute. But the whole story basically is Kara, played by Millie Alcock. She is going around to planets and just partying nonstop. And she pretty much, I would say, is the definition of the older sister that I guess didn't go to college or did go to college and gets drunk every day, sleeps throughout the day, stays awake all night, partying, getting with different people, things of that nature, like that type of, what young, people do around that age. And whether she did get with certain aliens or not is irrelevant, but that's pretty much the vibe I got. And we have this, the enemy in here, it was just really stupid, because the enemy in here, Krim, he just pretty much was like that old school, mustache twirling cartoon villain that goes after this family because he wanted weapons, and he kills them. And then the girl that survived, she was annoying throughout this entire movie, by the way. Just kept on saying, my name is blah 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 blah, I'm here for my clan, and trying to get help. She couldn't get help. Kara helps her get her sword back, and she follows Kara. And then Krim basically gets her ship after, of course, shooting Krypto with some type of poison. And that's, of course, when Kara gets involved in this, and they have to try to find a way to find him and his gang so they can stop him. They go through all this stuff. They go on a bus. We have this one fight. And then later on, we see the first appearance of Lobo as well, who is actually hunting someone within Krim's party anyway. And I will give this as much credit as I can to Jason Momoa. Some people say, Lobo wasn't that good. It wasn't that Lobo was not that good. It's just Lobo could have been more in here, because he was only in here for about, 5 scenes? So we have where throughout the movie, Kara's going back and forth because of her past and what Clark has told her, and how, Krypton, whatever happened, a good portion of the city, escalated, and then she was born 8 years after that event, and then her mother got sick, her father started getting sick, they transported her to Earth, and she didn't speak English, she still spoke Kryptonian, And Clark was already somewhat, I guess, already Superman at this point, showed her the Fortress of Solitude, and she pretty much just didn't care about Earth. She was still grieving her family, she was grieving her loved ones, and which is understandable, I will say that. Where Kara pretty much, again, in the comics, from what I've known, and also everything else, that there's, Kara did not really care for that much of humanity, because she felt like they were pretty much just like she was babysitting, I guess you'd say, and that's why she didn't want to deal with them. And when she goes to other planets, yeah, she's not going to be as powerful because of the yellow sun, which I do understand, but you still have certain planets that have a yellow sun, and a majority of the film, it just seemed like she was weak, and she actually starts fighting back against these ones that was on the bus, that she gets the power after she gets out into space, and she just starts freezing, and I'm like, wait a minute, why are you freezing? You don't have enough yellow sun in you to survive space? So that just made no sense to me. And I was just like, you gotta be kidding me, right? So she gets her power, she takes them out, and then of course we see this big fight with Lobo, and fighting with her on going after Krim's crew. And then finally, basically all he was doing, Krim, for the villain, all he was doing really was taking girls from other planets and doing whatever. And then that's why Kara was trying to stop this as well, but at the same time she didn't really care. She just wanted to get Krypto taken care of. But she even goes to a planet because of the green sun, and she gets weak, almost dies, and then she somehow gets the power back to be able to get into the sunlight, so where she can get her powers and heal herself. And we even have, which made no sense to me, where Lobo was captured. Don't even know how he got captured, with that other girl that was pretty much following Carl around this entire movie. Wasn't even sure how he got captured. They get released. He takes the guy's head, which was hilarious. And I will say Jason Momoa acted like Lobo, as I would say, as best he could with the script, because again, the script was horrible. And the guy, Kara, even at the end, Kara tries to stop the girl from killing Krim, but he still dies because she does it. And then she goes back, saves Krypto. Her and Krypto go to Earth with Clark, and that's how it ends. And it's like, wow. So this is what you were wanting to give us? And then apparently from the writer's perspective that I heard, he was going to give us more of the villain. It's like, bro, I don't care about the villain. That villain was so freaking stupid. The music was stupid in here. The storyline was stupid. It was irrelevant. And with the... oh my God. How the hell can anyone say this movie's good? Explain this to me. You tried to adapt it from the comics, yet you failed. Have you not learned your lessons? And everybody wants to say, oh, James Gunn is destroying DC, which I will agree or not disagree with. He's not helping the situation, but it's not like DC was in a good phase anyway, even when we had Snyder, because there were still issues with Snyder. Because we had issues with Justice League. We had issues with Batman versus Superman. We had issues with the second Wonder Woman movie. There was, I guess, certain issues with the first Wonder Woman movie. We had issues with Aquaman 1, Aquaman 2. Whether or not you want to consider that in Snyderverse or not, I don't care. And then people don't like the first, Suicide Squad movie. Or the remake, I guess you say, or Birds of Prey, or whatever. Regardless of who was behind it, DC just has not been doing good. And people thought, oh, we're going to get the new Superman movie. We're going to do so good. Dude, that movie sucked too. That sucked. This sucked. Season 2 Peacemaker sucked. What the hell is James Gunn doing? All this literally felt like was literally, if you put the worst of Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy with the worst of Star Wars and Star Trek, this is what you get for a DC movie. It didn't feel like a DC movie. I was bored. A lot of it was cringy. The only jokes that I laughed at was probably through Lobo. And maybe one other that was a little alien that I'm assuming Seth Rogen did the voice of, for like, oh, well, I don't have this or that. And it's just beyond intolerable, and I can see why people are saying this movie is a flop, because it is a flop. And if anyone thinks it's going to go further, and a lot of people are even saying, oh, the CW Supergirl is better than this, I will agree with that to a certain degree, but the CW Supergirl was not the best thing either. It did have its own issues within its own right, but it was actually better than this version of Supergirl. Millie Alcock is, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this as nicely as I can, she is not how Supergirl would look. Supergirl is supposed to be cute and attractive. She's not. I'm just going to be honest. She's not. Again, that's my personal opinion. People can agree or disagree with that. I'm not trying to be rude on that, on her appearance. But I don't find her attractive. I don't. If I have to choose between her and Melissa Benoist, who plays Supergirl, I would choose Melissa, honestly, because she looks more feminine. She looks more feminine than her. She actually looks like, I would presume, how people would think of Supergirl or someone else. And it didn't do well. I think Jason Momoa was born to play Lobo, but again, he didn't even say, oh, the main man, and that pissed a lot of people off. And at the same time, you could have done a movie with Lobo, and it probably would have done 10 times better than this. So, I don't know. I would say if you're even thinking about watching this, wait till it goes on Max or somewhere else, because it's not worth it. And just wait, man, because I'm going to tell you this right now, the DCU is just going to get worse before it gets better, depending on what we get. But this is a flop. 1 out of 10, it's a 1, if that. And then at the same time, it's not even worth a rewatch. To me, this ain't even worth a watch. Don't waste your money. But that's my full-on opinion. What do you guys think? Let me know, and I'll see you as always on the next one.